Hey guys, happy Tuesday morning. Hope you enjoyed some of that sunshine yesterday. And let's talk about what we're doing today. So, yesterday we read a couple excerpts from the crossover. Again, I'm just going to keep saying, I really hope you'll check out the actual book or one of his other books because I'm telling you, they're worth it. Anywho, we're going to reread the poems from crossover, the excerpts, and talk about some figurative language. Specifically, we're going to talk about metaphors and personification. Now, I know for a fact that you know what these are because I used to teach these in third grade, but sometimes it helps to just kind of refresh our memory. Okay. So, this idea of figurative language. Um, Figurative means, oh gosh, how do I explain it? Not literal, okay? Something that's not literally true, all right? But it's like a way of saying things, like a figure of speech. And poets often use figurative language to express their ideas in imaginative ways, okay? And like I just said, it's not literally true, but it can emphasize ideas. It can help us create mental images, or it can appeal to our emotions. So, two common types used in poetry are metaphor and personification. Now, metaphor is where you compare two things that are different or unlike that have qualities in common. Okay. A metaphor never uses like or as. That's a simile, if you remember. So, a metaphor is comparing two things that are different but have qualities in common. Okay. So, for example, right here, where's my laser pointer? You know I love this thing. There it is. Okay, right here. The basketball court was a swarm of activity. So, we're talking about a basketball court, and we're talking about a swarm, like a swarm of bees, is what I imagine in my head. So, clearly, those are two very different things. But what do they have in common? Well, they both have a lot of movement with a lot of people and a lot of action going on. Okay. So that helps us when we think about the basketball court was a swarm of activity. That just helps us see that it was crowded and it was busy and there were movement, people moving around and doing things like a swarm of insects. Okay. And again, it helps create a feeling of intense, fast moving action. And we really can kind of picture that in our minds. Now, when we talk about personification, it's where you take an object and you give it the qualities of a person, okay, human qualities. And it doesn't just have to be an object, it can be an animal, it can be an idea. It's where you take something that's not human and you give it human qualities, okay? So, for example, the ball thought about things for a moment and then dropped through the net. Now, we're taking a ball, which is an object, clearly not a human, and we're giving it human qualities. The ball is thinking, okay, which humans do, basketballs do not. But when you do personification, you are allowing it to have human qualities so that you can, number one, visualize it a little bit better and give it a little bit of life so that it kind of appeals to you a little bit. So, what they're saying here is what I picture is like when you shoot a basketball and it kind of like circles the ring a little bit, the hoop, I should say. Oh my gosh, I just said ring. Oh, where it circles the hoop for a little bit and then finally falls into the net. That's what they mean. Like the ball is kind of thinking about things for a minute and then finally swooshed through. Okay. And in this sense, it's adding suspense to the scene because we know that it doesn't just swish right away. It kind of like thinks about things for a minute and then finally decides to score. Okay. So when we look at part of one of the excerpts here from yesterday and we think about metaphor and personification, let's see if we can figure out um, some figurative language from here. So I snicker, but it's not funny to him, especially when I take off from center court, my hair like wings, each lock lifting me higher and higher like a 747 zoom zoom. Okay. Now, there's some figurative language in here that we haven't even talked about, so I'm wondering if you'll remember this from way back in the day. First of all, I take off from center court. So here, I would say this is a metaphor because taking off is something that like a rocket would do, a shuttle would do, something that takes off, right? So that's comparing I, which is the person, to taking off. Okay. That's your metaphor there, like a rocket. So you can like literally imagine him like blasting off. Okay. My hair like wings. Now, whenever we see like, and we're comparing two things like hair and wings, we know that's a simile. Remember, we talked about that with metaphor before. We said metaphor does not use like or as. So if you see like, that means it's a simile. So comparing hair to wings. Each lock lifting me higher and higher like a 747 zoom zoom. Who remembers this? When you have a word that when you say it out loud, it sounds just like the actual sound that it's trying to make. It's one of my favorite words to say. Onomatopoeia. Yep. Zoom zoom is onomatopoeia because it is a sound that actually sounds and is spelled and is said exactly as it sounds, like zoom zoom or buzz or ding or whatever. Those are examples of onomatopoeia. Okay. Again, the importance of this is, why do authors use it? Well, they use it because it helps us create visuals. Like here, we can literally see him like, excuse me, good grief. That came out of nowhere. Sorry. We can literally envision him like blasting off from center court, hair flying behind him, higher and higher, zoom, zoom, like a 747 aircraft, right? And then dunks. It's all about visualization. Okay. Now, how about this part? What do we see here? I throw down so hard the fiberglass trembles. Boo! Yeah, Dad screams from the top row. I'm the only kid on the team who can do that. The gym is a loud, crowded circus. My stomach is a roller coaster. My head, a carousel. Where's the metaphor? Did you find it? Right here. What are we comparing? A stomach to a roller coaster, right? There's no like or as. It's just saying my stomach's a roller coaster. And you guys even said yesterday you can identify with that. We know what that feels like, up and down when you're feeling nervous. And my head, a carousel. So again, we're comparing a head and a carousel to show us that his head's like spinning, like a carousel goes round and round and round, and his head is just spinning. Okay. So there's our metaphor. What's this? The gym is a loud, crowded circus. It's personification. Okay. It's giving an object that is not human. Oh, no, that's not human qualities. That's another simile. It's a simile. See, even I have to think about these things sometimes. Those are all similes. Comparing a gym to a loud, crowded circus, I'm thinking like, wait a minute, that's not a human quality. I know where the human quality is. It's up above. So all of these are metaphors. I'm losing my mind, people. You're probably sitting there like, what is she talking about? There's our metaphors, okay? Comparing the gym to a circus, no like or as, so it's a metaphor. Stomach to a roller coaster, no like or as, so it's a metaphor. Head to carousel, no like or as, so it's a metaphor. Good grief. Okay, now, I throw down so hard the fiberglass trembles. There we go. So fiberglass is like the backboard, right? And it's trembling. Now, the only thing that can tremble is a human. Humans tremble, they shake. And so by saying the fiberglass trembles, we're giving it human qualities. Because you could say like it vibrates, that's something that fiberglass actually does, or it shatters, that's something fiberglass actually does, but it does not tremble. That's a human quality, which means we are using personification right there. Sorry if I just confused you, but hopefully that quantified things. Personification, metaphor. All right, now here's what we're going to do with this today. We're going to do a Google form that looks like this. And it's just going to have all of the things that we've talked about put on here again, so you don't have to go back into the book to find it. So a narrative poem tells a story. Look right here. A narrative poem tells a story. Verse novels have many characteristics of a story, including literally, the answers are right here. Okay, check all that apply. To make the topic easy to visualize, verse novels usually use vivid word choices and figurative language to make the topic easy to visualize. See how that works? Verse novels are structured in group of lines and they express a theme or a life lesson. Is that true or false? Oh, look right here. What does it say? See, all the answers you can find right up there if you look for them. Okay, here's the metaphor and personification part. Poets often use figurative language to express their ideas in imaginative ways. We just talked about that. Of course they do. Figurative language is not literally true, but it can be used to what? And we just talked about all of those things as well. Which type of figurative language is used to compare two unlike things that have one or more qualities in common, makes a direct comparison, and does not use like or as. And again, if you forget, it's right here. Okay. Then we have this excerpt from JB and I in lines 1 and 2. The speaker compares JB and himself to what? To a shooting guard, power forward, dreads to my neck, head shaved once a month, goals at opposite ends of the court. So what is he in the first two lines? 1, 2. Compare himself to. 1, 2. What do they talk about in 1 and 2? Some of you are probably like, why is she doing this? Oh, trust me. Okay. According to lines 3 to 15, how are the speaker and JB different? List at least 3 ways. So this can just be a list. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Okay. What are 3 ways that they're different? There are more than 3. Tell me 3 ways they're different. Okay. Then we have this excerpt that we just talked about with the fiberglass trembling. And if you look at lines 16 through 18, those are those metaphors we just talked about. What mental images do these metaphors create and how do they help express what the speaker is feeling? So what we're asking here is, what do you see in your mind? How is the speaker feeling? How can you relate? That's kind of what I want you to explain. Like, oh, I totally know what they're talking about here. They're trying to say this. I have totally felt that way before too. Whatever it is, you're just trying to explain basically why these metaphors are used and what they actually mean. Okay? That's it. If you have any questions, come see me during office hours. Super happy to help you through it. Otherwise, you have a fabulous day. See you tomorrow.